Hey, welcome, and thank you so very much for joining me on another episode of Talking Cloud. Now, this is where we talk about cloud. Actually, we talk about anything having to do with technology. But come on, man. I mean, just about anything in technology has something to do with the cloud. Now, I've told you so many times, I'm the Gilligan, not the professor, but I'm an old guy and I've been around. And so I've got a lot of really brilliant connections and folks that I know, and I work hard to get them on the program. And today, man, we're so fortunate because today's guest, Boaz, I met originally like in around 2018, I think, right when Dome 9 got acquired by
Exactly.
Checkpoint. We've been connected, I think, since December of 2019. You know how that goes. You meet, you work together, and then you kind of go, hey, we should connect. Um, he's now the field CTO at a company you've undoubtedly heard of, Ox.Security. I'm super excited to hear what they're doing. And so, heck, man, let's just cut to the quick. Boaz, it's great to see you, man. Thanks for coming on the program.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Grant. I love it. I really, really enjoy it. I was looking forward for that the entire day, actually.
Thank you.
So I'm happy to be here and happy to talk to you and reconnect. And it'll be amazing conversation, I'm pretty sure.
So listen, I don't usually. I mean, I used to go a lot more through the preamble. Now people can just bang out your name on LinkedIn and look you up. But want to give me a little, I mean, we can talk about whatever you'd like to talk about today. I am interested in hearing about Ox because I know you guys have just been killing it. You've been like on fire.
Yeah.
So why don't you just push it from the dock however you'd like?
Yeah, fantastic. So, just a little bit about myself. I try to make technology simple, and it's very complex. And there's a whole bunch of terms and complexities with everything we're doing. And really, if you're asking me, I really try to make it simple, understandable, and then connect between product and value in that sense. So, you're asking
Mm.
yourself, okay, why field CDO? So it's more really about connecting between the technology and the value that it can bring. And that's what
Sure.
I'm doing for Ox.Security.
Cool. So tell me about the product. Tell me about the company. What you guys are
So
doing.
one of the amazing things that I'd like to point out is that the initial architecture and the way we've seen AppSec 4 years ago, almost 4 years, when the company was founded by Lior Nitzan, it's very similar as it's a different way to approach the AppSec problem. And from this place, the technology that we built really enables us to understand the entire pipeline from code to cloud, build what we call the code projection. That means that understanding how the code will behave in runtime, and then being able to alert on issues that will be critical before they actually hit runtime. And I think that's kind of the essence of what we're doing. We're doing much more than that, but the technology behind it is really amazing and really unique in the space.
So just for a level set too, for um, application
Yeah,
security,
exactly.
AppSec. Okay, I mean, I was thinking to myself as you were boom down that rabbit hole, baby. AppSec, that's it.
Yes,
But I want to make sure everybody understood what we're talking about is it's application security, it's SDLC, it's the pipeline, it's the process that virtually every large enterprise goes through with an internal development team, right?
exactly. And you can say that every company today, and you know it firsthand, is a software company.
Sure.
Everybody develops. Everybody's using software, even
Well,
more
come
than
on.
before.
Now here's the difference, Boaz. Everybody has an assistant that can write code.
Yes.
So you're right, man. And there are abstract tools, i.e., Wix, and the GoDaddies and the other,
Yeah.
tools that I can use to build, albeit it's not maybe as sophisticated, but all the code's back there, right? I mean, it's building it.
Exactly.
So you're right, but I don't think you're not really after me, the guy who's standing up a website, right? You're going
No.
after Fortune 500, Fortune 2000. What's the
Yes,
market?
exactly. I think this is interesting because let's start from today, go backward, and then come back here.
Yeah,
Today, anyone can open an AI assistant, vibe code their own website by using normal language syntax, have a fully functioning website that you can publish, and that's it. So right now we're seeing a real start. I would say a start. Not it's not still it's still baby steps, but start of a revolution. And if we go back 20 years when AppSec really started, everybody was focused on you know scanning the code in that sense, and it wasn't a real focus. Actually, the cloud made it a bigger focus
right.
because of
Third
moving
party,
to
yeah,
different
third party
methodologies.
repositories, right? I mean, it was
Yeah,
all of a sudden now
and
I'm storing it somewhere else.
exactly, I'm using someone else's computer, which
Right.
is really comfortable. Yeah, I remember in my Checkpoint days, I had the labs at Checkpoint. I actually rebuilt the labs a couple of times,
Mm,
reconfigured everything. And when we started moving to cloud, especially later on,
right.
then it's like, oh, here's an image, here's a machine, here's another machine. Let's connect them. Let's work. It's You don't have to strain yourself or work very hard, and it's a bit intoxicating, that feeling of being able to just spin up everything you want in a matter of a few seconds,
Yep.
connect that together and start working.
Yep.
And yeah, I feel that eventually people got hooked to cloud, and I'm seeing the same thing with AI, building small agents, different tasks. And the increase that happened since, I would say, 2015 at the threat landscape really reshuffled everything we think we know about application security in
How
that sense.
so?
So in the early days, let's take 10 years. We started by focusing on detecting vulnerabilities. There wasn't a lot of vulnerabilities. 2015, there were only 6.5 thousand vulnerabilities discovered. Last year, more than 40,000 new vulnerabilities. It's a huge increase in that decade. And what's
Yeah.
happening in the meantime is that the scanning tools also become extremely good because they were focused on delivering better scanning results. So what we're seeing is we're seeing a lot of organization developing faster, deploying faster, so CI/CDs, and now they're discovering that they have hundreds of thousands of vulnerabilities and they don't know what to do with them. So they're really thinking themselves, okay, so how do I approach it? How do I change it? How do I ensure that I am actually focused on what I should care about? And that's kind of the problem that we've started to see back in the 2021 when Ox started. So Nitzan and Lior really looked at software supply chain. SolarWinds at that time was a big thing, and
Mhm.
they understood that there's so many tools, so much noise, a lot of problems. I don't really understand how code is being built and then being deployed, what is deployed. And this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sense, like I do, out of everything.
So it really, when you talk about supply chain and your involvement there, is that more in the context of the corporation builds an application that is distributed out to their partners? Is that kind of the model?
It's mainly focused on, I would say, enterprises that are building their own software. It can
Right.
be for internal use, it can be for external use, it can be their SaaS, their game, their
Yeah.
financial service that they're building, their medical. service that patients are connecting. We have
Yeah.
customers that reinvented the way you buy drugs in the US. Prescription drugs, not just drugs. Uh, so prescription drugs, and this is something that really helps them because they can find the nearest drugstore with the drug they need and get some sort of a discount for that. So they're really
Hmm.
helping them, and we're helping to secure the entire thing and ensuring that the medical information and the PII is not leaked, and they're not having any kind of critical risks when the system is working, because that's really the bad thing that can happen, especially to smaller companies but also enterprises, is that they get breached. A lot of information is get stolen. They are liable for that. They will be
Yeah.
fined from compliance and regulations perspective. So there's a lot of aspect in that sense. And one thing that I have to say is that a lot of companies opted in to detect issues at runtime because they can justify that the issue is actually critical. And they discover that there's too many issues, too much noise. They have to work very hard to fix it. So they want to, what we talk about, shift left. They want to
Hmm.
start detecting from code. But then they got another problem. The problem is that there's too many issues that they see in code and they don't know which issue is actually critical for them to fix.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's kind of I would say that's kind of the area that we're playing in, kind of the aspect that we're seeing. And I really feel distress from companies, from OPSEC people. They're really trying to make sense out of everything that they're doing, and they're struggling. And I would argue that most companies are actually drowning in alerts, which
Hmm.
cause alert fatigue. One of the topics that I
Hmm.
really like talking about, because alerts and alert fatigue actually changes the person. It's not just about tiresome or missing items, which happens. They're changing the entire person, how the person behaves. And we've gone through an article and a study around that, and we interviewed a professor in neuroscience that explained to us exactly how that works, which is very, very interesting.
Yeah, you go numb.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no different. I mean, I'll bet, I don't know. I'm speculating. It's conjecture, but I think and every one of us have done it. You drive into the mall and you park and you're walking into the store and you hear a car alarm go off. You look, it's not yours. You turn around and keep walking. You may not even hear it. Doesn't matter, right? Whereas
Yeah.
it's supposed to be something that's urgent, right? And so yeah, I mean, I mean, look, what a dreadful role to get up, go to work, and get into a hamster wheel and stay on
Yes.
that hamster wheel for the full time you're there and know that it's just going to be there the same when you get back.
I think this is something that what you're seeing, what you're describing, is really what gets people to leave their jobs, to start searching for a different place. And we're
Yep.
seeing that, the average tenure in security, CISOs included, but specifically in AppSec, we can see 2, 3 years tops.
Yeah.
Uh, and there's a lot of turnover because you're actually feeling drowned in alerts.
Yep.
You're not getting attention because, if you talk about cloud security, if I see a misconfiguration or a cloud security issue, security team will make the adjustments. They will make the fix, the remediation, mitigations, understand the controls. With OPSEC, it's completely different. I can't do anything from security perspective. I can just hold a big red flag and say, fix it,
Yeah.
and
You
I
got to go
have to
back
get
to
the
whoever
attention
built
from
it.
development.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, are you, uh, I'm just for my edification, remember I'm the Gilligan. Obviously, I get it if the company's created a custom app, but what about Delta and they create their app that everybody uses? Same applicate. I mean, you certainly have value there, no?
Yes, of course, because I think this is actually the case where you need, I would say, a solution like Ox, because
Yeah.
a company like Delta, they're And also trading and gaming, they have the same problem. I have to ensure that my service is constantly alive. If
Right.
it goes down, that's a problem. I
Totally.
lose trust. I
Planes are
lose
still flying. All the people are
exactly.
still working at the airport, but
Yeah,
that's such a critical link, right? That application on man.
yeah. I can give an example from my personal life. I've been flying a lot so
Yeah.
far, and one time I wanted to check, well, not just check in, to check through the app where
Mm,
my suitcase was, because I was
mm,
at the airport and I
yeah.
was waiting and they have the tags listed. And I was
Yeah.
trying to log into the app, but they said service is down, service is down. Now, I can go and ask lost and found, but you get mad because you're used to that level of technology that
Totally. Totally. It
you
goes,
lose trust.
I heard someone talking about, even though it wasn't even, I mean, if you go back just say uh, 2017,
Yeah.
when was that when it, or no, iPhones were '07. I
iPhones
don't know.
was, yeah, were '07. I just,
Okay.
yeah,
So, so,
something like that.
so let's go back to '07, '08. The thought of sharing your location with anybody in the world, right? Compared to today, it's no big deal, right? So behaviors change, tolerances, acceptances, views of, gosh, some people might think that's a ferocious intrusion of privacy, but now it is quite remarkable how things evolve and change just in terms of our social acceptance and behavior of technology.
Exactly. You made me think about the first time that I had an iPhone and the change it made. I was so surprised because previously I didn't have that kind of experience. So thinking about the iPhone 3GS. By the way, I'm a Samsung guy, but it's my first experience with iPhone. I had it 2 years. In the beginning, it was like a dream, from a tech person who's holding that thing in his hand and he's got, okay, here's an app, here's a
Yeah,
game. Now I can
yeah,
do different things. And I started to rely more on the technology. It's not just, as you said, accepting, location, you share
sure.
location through WhatsApp and everything, and you constantly share location. You have app, the tags that's going around the world all the time, and all the phones are discovering different tags. But really the main thing that's changed is the reliance
Totally.
on phones and also on software. I can't
Yeah,
imagine today like I had 20 years ago without the reliance on software for everything, really for
true.
everything. And I
Yeah,
would
it's true.
constantly consider, okay, so for example, if you want to fly, let's say use the same example, you're going to check in at the moment that the check-in opens, to book your seat, to ensure that you have the flight, everything is not
Yep,
scheduled, everything
yep,
is scheduled in time, not too late.
yep,
You're not going to go to the airport not knowing that your flight is delayed or not. You're going to check it.
yep.
And I can't,
Numerous.
yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Um, it's in every aspect of our lives, and I think, with the advent of this new phenomenon uh, called Gen AI and agentic AI and all the variations of AI. Uh, uh, I mean, that's software too,
Yeah.
right? I
So,
mean, and I say that supporting your comment. And in fact, I would argue that the transformation and impact and subsequent ubiquity of AI is going to have, it's going to be magnitudes greater than anything we've seen, at least anything I've experienced in my lifetime. I really believe that
Yeah.
because when you consider how much is already in place, that software, and then couple that with, sprinkling it with magic, right? AI. I mean, everything's gonna, everything's, it's going to be everywhere.
Yeah, I have an interesting story for you actually. It just
Yeah.
came up to me when you're talking about magic. As part of my seminar work in my bachelor degree, it was on sociology and anthropology, actually, and also East
Hmm.
Asian studies. And I mastered in Japan, Japanese, and everything. But the final work I actually, there was a program that is called AutoIt that you can write code that will mimic actions on the computer. So I wrote a script, a software using that
Hmm.
that would introduce me before the classroom. So before AI, this it was 2010,
Wow.
something like that. So I wrote it and then I went on the university computer. Everything was open. I installed that in another software that allowed me to use my iPhone to control the computer. Now,
Nice.
what happened is amazing. What happened is that I tested it at home, of course. I included a talking face and lightnings and everything.
It's
I
like
turned off the
it
light.
makes me think of the Wizard of Oz, the screen on the Wizard
That's
of
that was my
Oz.
inspiration. That was my inspiration. So, and then I started the program. I ran the program before that when the previous person finished their talk,
Right, right.
and I was sitting there and running, and people would go, "What's happening? What's going on?" And you hear lightning, and that person speaking and inviting me to talk and presenting me, and it was a hell of an experience. But the whole story was that I used magic as people think about magic in the past days
Right.
and scrolls. And I told them it's the same thing about people who know how to code these days. AI today changed the entire game. Everybody knows how to code.
Yep.
Everybody understands it.
Yep.
But in these days, 20 years ago, not that much, not that old,
Yeah.
I think.
I am.
And people didn't understand. So I told them, listen, this is a scroll that when I click run will do a lot of amazing things for
Yeah.
these people. It
Yeah.
was magic.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a product. This is ode to Bill Atkinson. Um, Bill Atkinson just passed away. Rest in peace, Bill. And he was credited with numerous inventions and innovative approaches to user interface. He was key in Mac development.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, now I kind of lost train of thought just thinking about all the amazing thing that guy did. But um, yeah, when you think about software, guys like that really, are different kind of thinkers. Chris Espinosa is another one
Yes.
who was at Apple. Um, it's pretty amazing.
There's
Uh,
also different types of people that I can say that actually in our demo, I did a homage to a few of the greatest in cybersecurity and software development. They're the users in the demo for our RBAC functionality. So I
mm,
decided to say, okay, let's do something that's interesting. I don't want to use just Ben or
yeah,
Bob or something like that.
something that's fun.
Yeah, something that's fun. So I when I created some parts of the demo, I instilled different types of nuggets within that just for fun, to be playful, to provide really an homage to
Sure, that's always
amazing
good.
people.
A little personality.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Alan Turing, of course, one
Yeah.
of our favorites, and Dan Kaminsky, and Grace Hopper. So these are really people that have influenced the entire industry,
Huh.
I would say.
Yeah.
So, and I would say that I would the when I chose the people, I chose people that are no longer alive,
Right.
not to mess with anyone else. But it
Right.
really is something that's interesting. How you're understanding and giving credit to people that are nothing short of brilliant in what they
Well,
did.
and there's so many. I mean, there's so many. It's like I was talking to my son, same but different. Uh, there's so much amazing music out there, and you can never catch it. You just don't have enough time or cycles, to hear it all. I'm constantly amazed when I hear new music that just it's like, gosh, it's never ending, and
Yeah.
there's so much of it. There's a lot of great stuff, but that I think is going to be happening more and more. Going back to talking about the veil instead of the Grand Canyon between Professor and Gilligan. I mean, anybody can write code. It's truly that simple now. So, how much has that influenced what you guys are doing in terms of the popularity of vibe coding? And do you see enterprises implementing it? Or I'm curious, right? I know I've got some friends that are just really heads down into it, thinking it's just the greatest. But what about that enterprise dev team or dev group? Are those guys vibe coding?
So I'll divide it into two because they are anyone who's wants to stay, not I
Current?
wouldn't even say ahead, but current, just understanding what's happening. By the way, you can't miss it. Copilot, Cursor, Base 44, Windsurf, you
Yep.
name
I
it,
mean, yeah,
Claude.
totally, totally, totally. But
It
I wonder. Here's what I wonder, Boaz,
Yeah,
and you, I think, are a perfect person to ask this question to. And let me frame it. Okay,
yeah.
2 months, ChatGPT, 0 to 100 million users. Lots of people went, "Oh my God, it's magic!" Like we were talking about. A fraction, a small fraction, really even know they're not words; it's just tokens. That it's guessing everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most people don't know that. And I wonder, from actual implementation and use in corporate America, how many people, kind of saw it like a really cool firework on 4th of July, right? Oh my God, wow, that was amazing. Wow. But then kind of go right back into their normal modus operandi and don't really see how they can enrich just about everything that they're doing if they leverage this assistant that knows everything the internet knows. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? And
Exactly.
so how many people are using it versus how many people are using it correctly?
Wow, that's a very good. It's a tough question. Um,
I mean,
I'll
I'm
give an
just wondering, out in the
yeah,
world, out in corporate, I know, I understand, I see it happening. It's getting thrown at us. You just said it. I mean, you've got Copilot here and it's there. I mean, it's all over. Everybody's here. But I'm talking about, you know, what about me? All this shit's coming on me, coming at me, and I go, oh man, and then I go hunt and peck and I try something, and I'm kind of, oh, this is cool, right? But then what happens? How do is anybody? It just seems like there's a gap between,
yeah.
wow, this is cool magic, and me really learning how to use it effectively in my job, in my work, in everything
Exactly.
I'm doing.
So I can give you a personal example, different types of examples, and then I'll talk about enterprise industry. Personally, I'm a technology kind of guy. I like innovation. I like trying new things. I've been trying AI tools since day one of AI, even
Yeah.
before they called it AI.
Yeah.
But what I came to
Machine
realize,
learning. You bet.
yeah, what I came to realize is I'm following different people, I'm trying the different tools, but I came to realize that when all the hype is over, you end up using the tools that are easy to use for you, but also provide value. I'll give an example. I've been using, ChatGPT, Mid-Journey. I've been using Runway as another example, but my job is not to make videos. So I've played with it, but I'm not using it.
Yeah.
Okay. I've used, Perplexity and Claude and Gemini, but I got used to something else. I actually use multiple all the time, but when
Right.
you get used to something, then you play with it. Now, my wife, for example, she's an occupational therapist.
Mhm.
She's a bit tech savvy because she's married to me, and I constantly teach her. She's not really using AI. She does
Right.
it, a little bit in Canva, maybe a bit Chat GPT, but that's really it. Not
Yeah.
like, I'm using it. I've been using AI to speed up everything that I'm doing. I built
Totally.
AI agents in
And
order to
listen,
help me do my work.
I so last yesterday I was driving. I was on the road for 2 hours to go to an appointment. I get a Teams message from a colleague who's uh, asking for help on a presentation
Yeah.
because I had helped on a previous one, and the help was my assistant Gamma that I have a subscription to.
Wow, Gamma is great. I've been using that as well.
Phenomenal. I love it. And so I bailed him out with a presentation before. And so he sends me this note. First, it's a broadcast. Has anybody got it? Nobody replies. And then he sends a note to me specifically. And I'm like, hey, I'm not going to get home till, early evening at best, but I'll try to get to it. Well, I got home even later and I never got to it. He sent me a message this morning, reminded me. And so, oh shoot, yeah, okay. Well, I went into Gamma. I'd already done it. I mean, it was already finished. So I just had to attach the file and send it to him. And of course, he's like, "Oh man, right?" It's like,
That's magic, Grant. You
it's
just performed magic in his
right.
eyes. You're a magician.
But the thing, I have a great skit, Boaz, that I do in a presentation where I'm literally showing Gamma
Hmm.
and I have a prompt already in the prompt. And it's critical to have a good internet connection because it's a big fail if you don't have a snappy internet connection because it's still a SaaS, right? Um, and I have the prompt, and usually it's something like the critical importance of cybersecurity training in enterprises today. And I hit enter. And then I pretend I get a phone call from my boss. Oh, he doesn't know my presentation time changed, and I make my phone ring. And so I've got 300 people all, and it's like, yeah, hi, Jay. Well, a little bit. What's going on? A presentation? Sure. Yeah, hey, listen, I'm not going to be able to get it to you until next week. The meanwhile, it's building on the slides. Yeah, I got to do the graphics, the headlines. I got to put the whole thing together. I mean, next Friday. Meanwhile, it's literally done on the screen. Okay, end of day Thursday. Okay, great. Yeah, okay, thanks. And I put my finger up and I say, 1 second. And I turn around. Hey, Boaz, make that tea time. I'm free till Wednesday. You know, because and the whole moral of the story really is inspect what you expect and remember the tools that are out there. So, I mean, people are just unaware of the powerful transformation that can occur if they use these tools effectively. But I'll give you an example of how it's dreadful. When somebody puts in a search term, not a prompt,
Hmm.
you know, that to me is just such a stupid, obvious example of the profound impact you can have on productivity by properly teaching prompting.
Exactly.
I mean, without it, you're still going, holy, this is amazing. But the results are anemic compared to what you get if you really understand how to assign a role, define the objective, to really be
Yeah.
explicit on the instructions. And I think that if there's one thing that I tell every audience I get a chance to speak to, that's probably the single most important skill companies should be investing in their people in right now, in my opinion. Now, I
I
think
completely
there's,
agree with you, by the way.
it's interesting. I just had lunch yesterday with a good buddy of mine who is a CISO and his director of a large Fortune 500 company, and I think they're for the most part blocking it all, right? And
They're trying.
so
They're trying.
you and I both know the folly of that, right? I mean, they're
Yeah.
still using it. They're using it on other devices. They're using it at home. They're still. But I think that that's really they are a perfect example of a lot of companies don't know what to do. They don't know if they should allow it, not allow it. None of them have really invested, or few have invested in any kind of Gen AI security tools with visibility and control and all of that stuff, right?
Exactly.
And so I think it's kind of everybody's doing an all or nothing game, and the folly of nothing is just that. It's folly,
Yeah.
but without instruction, it can be also catastrophic.
Very catastrophic, because they're going to use it anyway. They're actually using that. The problem
Yeah.
with the approach is that you have to understand that companies who's going to be using and leveraging AI, and you can see different publications of companies like Microsoft and Facebook that already claim that about 30% of the code that's being written in their software is AI
AI
based.
written. Yeah.
AI written, and I'm going to see more. I've been talking to a lot of different customers, specifically in the industry that are moving fast, lighter industry like gaming. They're relying on it a lot. I would say even 50-60% of the code is AI generated with, a human touch. There's the
Right.
human touch from a
So is that
developer perspective.
helping? Is that helping your efforts? Are you guys building uh, uh, AI technology that can be at the very front end of my pipeline and my development, so that you're keeping me on course? How are
Yes.
you guys doing that?
So I always like to say to people, imagine a graph with one line goes up, another line stays basically the same. And that's the gap that companies are experiencing right now between AI generated code and issues and the security resources that they're investing. And in that sense, what we're helping them to do is to close that gap, because for me, it doesn't matter if it's AI generated code or it's a human generated code, just the
Yeah.
quantity has been increased. It's the
The
same code.
difference is if it's secure or not secure, right? I
Yes.
mean,
That's the
that's the
point.
issue.
And this is what we're
Yeah.
developing and helping people do. In fact, really the technology, when it looks at the code, it tells you what the relevant security fix needs to be based on your code. So you don't have to guess or understand how to create an allow list. It will create it
Hmm.
for you. How to do output validation. It will do it for you, and it will understand it based on the functionality of your code and what it needs to be doing. And that's again exactly based on what you said about prompting. If I know how to prompt right, I can add those security best practices to the code.
Yeah.
True, the training data of AI. Now, I say about AI for coding, it's Stack Overflow on steroids. So all the problems you have with Stack Overflow, now you have it on steroids with AI. It's still
Right.
not as fine tuned as you would expect it to be. So there's a lot of work around it.
Yeah.
But overall, the idea that it doesn't matter if it's an AI human code, if it's 10 times, 20 times, 30 times volumes. increase in the amount of code that's being deployed and reaching to production, the system is designed and what we're developing to keep you focused on real critical issues where most issues are just noise. And this is
Right.
something that we're doing that by understanding how your environment works, how everything is deployed, how code is being written, what is being reachable, exploitable, and impactful for you, and then zeroing you on those specific aspects. So it doesn't matter if the initial part is 100,000, 200,000, 2 million lines of code every day. Okay. The overall output is almost the same thing. So you're still seeing that same specific issues. Now, if you're smart and you want to take leverage of AI, you train developers exactly as you said, Grant, to prompt it right. Add specific security best practices to your prompt. Okay, review the code and suggest security
Yeah.
fixes to security
Yeah.
issues before I submit it. The
Yeah.
problem is developers don't care about it. Most of them. They just
Yeah.
want to, push code, it's working, let's go. And
Yeah, but that's, I mean, you could potentially help to change that because that's one of the real fundamental problems with software is that it's not been in the dashboard of the developer from the get-go. It's, there's it's you know if let me give you an analogy. Cars used to not have seat belts, and so
yes,
obviously nobody wore them. But when laws were passed that said, hey, cars have to have seatbelts, um, there's still a percentage of people that didn't use them, right?
exactly.
But most people are going to be using them. So I wonder if it's, if it's similar. I don't know.
I want to use your analogy and say something about the current status in the industry. It's we will have easier time to change the tools that you're using than the people that are using the tools. So in
Totally.
this sense, it's easier to put seatbelts as for a car for AI instead of telling the people that are using AI that they need to write down seatbelt.
Totally, totally. It's why I have said for a long time you're going to see trends where the and this back to a car analogy, okay? Um, I asked my audience who's bought a new car. There's always somebody,
Yeah,
and it's like, okay, did you have to go to a defensive driving class to buy it? Were
no,
you required to pass some special defensive driving? No, you have to have a license. You don't even have to have a license to buy the car, probably. Your mom has to have one.
yeah,
But does it stop for you? Does it keep you in your lane? Will it beep if your head starts to drop off? I mean, all of these aspects, it's protecting you from you. The technology is getting better. So I agree with you. I think we're going to start to see more and more of that kind of oversight from the technology. Not,
mhm,
it's interesting. This I think will be another change. 20 years ago, 40 years ago, Big Brother. Oh
yeah,
man, that was oh, you're going to be watching me. You're going to watch everything I'm doing. Well, if you think about how things are evolving today, we've got the capability is on the precipice of having something that's watching me and helping me with context, not watching me to say, hey, what are you doing? What are you, right? We're going to be able to get much richer with that help, that oversight, that coaching, if you will, um, by using this extraordinary new technology in more fine grained, contextual aware applications. At least that's my
yeah.
prediction.
So I have a how I say it. It's not a task. It's for you and everyone who's listening. Okay, go to ChatGPT or your favorite GPT tool and
Yep.
type in, "What do you know about me?" This is, it will really change how you perceive it, because the more that you're using the tool, it will explain a lot that it knows about you, and so much that,
Chat GPT may do that. Claude doesn't do that.
yeah, it's true. Claude will not
If
do
you
that.
go to Claude and you say, "What do you know about me?" It'll say, "I don't know anything about you," because
That's
Claude
true.
doesn't remember everything like ChatGPT does. ChatGPT, on the other hand, you're exactly right. But see, this again, this is another example of why people need to be informed. But it really is truly extraordinary, because what people don't realize, i- you know, it's the forensics, right? It's the dander you leave everywhere you walk, the breadcrumbs everywhere you go, everything you ask, query about. I mean, that's because this is an elephant that truly doesn't forget, right?
Exactly. It truly doesn't. And I don't know if it's amazing or frightening or both at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's probably the latter. Yeah, it's extraordinary.
That's really extraordinary. That's fantastic. And I really think that right now AI is very good for very specific tasks. It will give you what you want, but
Yeah,
it will be very hard for it to have very complex continuous logic if you're not building it right.
right.
But I think that in the next 2 years, we're going to see platforms, actual platforms, that you're going to say, okay, have a task to build a presentation about XYZ. It will
Right.
automatically go and research and then use another tool to build the presentation, another tool to revet it,
Yep.
add statistics, do the
Yep.
whole thing. And then you get an actual presentation like you've been doing, sitting down doing it for 2 3 weeks.
Yeah, yeah, and again, it'll be critically important that you inspect what you expect and look at every single thing. The
Exactly.
risk and the fear is people go, "Oh, it's perfect," and they'll publish it, right, without even reading it.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's really
Boaz, this
amazing.
has been a terrific. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking time at the end of your day, early evening, to spend it with me. So thank you so much, man.
It's my pleasure. Anytime, Grant. Even, outside, inside, I'll be traveling to the US as well, coming along specifically for Black Hat and DEF CON, but I'm
Ah,
constantly
I'll
in
probably
different
be a
places.
black cat, so maybe
Yeah?
I'll be able to run into you. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that'd be
let's do
great.
it.
Yeah, that'd be
Let's do it.
great.
I feel it will be amazing. And no, I haven't seen you face to face for a long time.
Yeah, it's been several years for sure. So I'd love to see you as well, Boaz. And hey, thank you and congratulations to you and Nitsan and the entire team, because honestly, uh, all you got to do is take a look at your website. You guys are just killing it. You're in the
Thank you.
news, you've got amazing customers, and you're obviously really solving a problem, because that's the only way you have that kind of success in the marketplace, is really meeting it with a solution of value. So kudos to you
Yeah.
guys. Thanks
Thank
a
you.
ton for being on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been awesome. I just love talking with, I mean, smart folks like Boaz. I hope you enjoyed the program today as much as I did. And by all means, please like it, share it, tell your friends about it. We want to get more subscribers, and we'll certainly look forward to having you back on the
Yes.
next episode of
Of course,
Talking
I'm
Cloud.
going to like, subscribe, share, and everything else, and I love it.
Awesome.
Really enjoyed, Grant. It was amazing.
Thank you, Boaz. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks a ton. See you again. Bye bye.